Hey you all. Thank you guys so much for being oh so very patient. Last week was my birthday week. Friday was my birthday. And so there was a lot of excitement, celebration, and goodness, good vibrations all around. So thank you guys for everybody who sent me a message, everybody who checked in with me. Thank you all for that. And thank you all for your patience on me getting out my 5th and final video in this series on my mental health journey with depression and anxiety. So if you guys don't know who I am, my name is Olga, aka Olga Tibiri. I am a lover, a free spirit. I am a self-proclaimed Uptown's unicorn, and I am a mother and a friend and a daughter and somebody who is just infinitely curious about everything. So I like to learn, and I also like to teach, and I like to share the things that I have learned that I feel like have helped me, or share things that, I'm curious about and things like that. In this particular video series, like I mentioned before, it's a 5-day video series, or 5 video series on my journey with mental health and depression and anxiety, because I felt like we need to talk about this stuff. Not enough people talk about it, and I don't care if you've already seen like 3 people talk about this stuff, because last week we had International Suicide Prevention Day. Like, I don't care. We need to talk even more. It's still not a conversation that we're having enough of. And I think that just knowing or realizing that people around us are suffering from feelings of extreme sadness or extreme irritability, or just out of control, where maybe they don't know where to put their energy, it's a very real thing. And if we don't talk about these things, I know for a fact that we're just going to continue these cycles of ailment from generation to generation. I believe that I have been put here on this earth to help other people. And that takes on many different forms, many different ways. Sometimes I'm just inspired to do things. And in the past, because I was in a place where I wasn't feeling too great about myself, I would hold myself back a lot from doing things. But I'm in a space where I've done enough work on myself now, where I know that if I get an inspiration, I should just follow it and see where it goes. And, it might be a big thing for me. It might be a big thing for other people. It might be super helpful. It might just land flat and not do anything for anybody at all. Who knows? But I know that God has called me, and this isn't only for my religious folks. Like, if you're an atheist, it's cool, no problem. But I believe in a higher power. So we'll call that higher power God, the universe. It's a mixture of things, and we'll get into that conversation another day. But I really do feel like I've come into this place and time, this existence, into this body, into this time period, because this is where I'm supposed to do my work. This is where I'm supposed to help others. And on top of helping others, really help myself so that I can help others. So yes, this is the final video in my 5 video series that I am so very grateful that everybody has been watching and commenting and sharing. For me, it just means everything that I have the support of everybody, and that you guys, are just they're cheerleading me on. I'm usually the cheerleader for everybody, and I'm really comfortable in that spot. I'm not so much comfortable in the spot where people are cheering me on. I kind of like to be in the background, but on this subject, I gotta say, it actually feels really good, because I've gotten a lot of feedback from people saying that they either are suffering too, or that they just had no idea that I lived through this, and that I went through this, and that I've gone through these things myself. So thank you all for your support. Each video that I've done, and if you haven't watched the other ones, they're up on my YouTube page, on my channel, and they are all living there. Each video that I've done has had a different topic. And so today, with my fifth and final video, I wanted to go over a couple of things that I feel like I got out of my depression and my anxiety. Because as much as it may suck, and as much as it may seem, sorry, I've got to close this door because it's kind of loud out there. As much as it may suck, and as much as it may seem that things are not working out in your favor, things aren't great, and yes, I'm laying down because I want to be comfortable. I want to talk to you like I talk to my friends, because you're my friend. Although they may not be comfortable, you can still gain something out of it. I think that one of the biggest lessons I've had in my lifetime overall, and something that continuously pops up, and I'm always reminded about, is that no matter what happens, as big or as small of a tragedy, there's always something, there's either a lesson to learn or something beautiful that can come out of that. Sometimes it's not so much beautiful in the way that it's like something like nice and shiny pops out of there. More like you, through going through tough experiences, you realize that you have a capacity for more. And I find that a lot of times the people, and especially the people that I know, who have suffered greatly, tend to be those people who have the biggest capacity to love other people, the biggest capacity to forgive other people, the hugest capacity to understand others. And all of these things just, it makes life just that much better, just really great. But if you learn how to seek it out, it doesn't feel like that in the moment. It definitely does not. It feels like your heart is being, your heart is literally being ripped out of your chest. It hurts so bad. I spoke on my previous video about what it felt like, and sometimes this shit actually hurts. Like, sometimes you feel so bad that you're really getting chest pains, and sometimes you just feel so bad that your stomach is hurting and in knots. Sometimes it feels so bad that your throat hurts. Sometimes it just hurts so bad that it just, everything hurts. Your back hurts, your head hurts, your neck hurts. I know I mentioned a lot with my symptoms, my physical symptoms of depression. Like, it actually manifests in something else. And if you go to the doctor, they're going to tell you that you're 100% fine. I know that I felt my heart skipping beats for years. And every EKG I've ever gotten done shows perfectly normal activity. Any physical ailment that I've had has been chalked up to stress, which is pretty interesting, because it's like I've missed days, weeks, hundreds of hours of work and life because I've been sick, because I've had to stay home, because I was in pain. And it's kind of weird how that happens. But it's just interesting to me how it actually does manifest physically. So, yeah, even physically, it may feel like shit in the moment. However, I am 101% absolutely sure that if you go through it, whatever you're going through, whether it's depression or whether you're just feeling really bad or stressed out, angry about something, there is always something there for you to learn from it. And it can be beautiful because you can connect with yourself on a deeper level. I actually was just having a conversation with somebody. Something that I have learned really well this year especially is that when you're feeling any type of emotions, no matter what that is, even if you do suffer from mental illness, but if you're feeling some type of emotions, that's telling you something. That's your body reacting. It's your nervous system reacting to some sort of stimulus. So it's either telling you that it's a good thing for you or it's a bad thing for you, or it's really most likely usually telling you that there's something more that you haven't paid attention to that you've got to take a look at. And when you learn that, and once I learned this for myself, it was really freeing because it gave me the opportunity to say, you know, in the middle of my struggle, when I remembered, it clicked in my head, you know what? I'm feeling this for a reason. You know, and it may not be what triggered it. It's usually not the trigger for the reactions, for the feeling so, you know, imbalanced and upset, so to speak. It's usually not the trigger itself, but it's something much deeper behind that. If you're a person who tends to stuff down your emotions, trust and believe you're gonna get triggered a lot. And the worst thing you could do is misplace that anger. So don't do that. Stop. Once you realize that you're upset, you're probably irrationally upset at this point. Because this is what happens to me. When I get upset, when I'm not feeling well, and when I haven't been paying attention to myself, I get irrationally upset. Like, it's crazy. You would not believe how irrational a person could be, especially a person like me who seems to be super understanding, non-judgmental. Boy, can I judge myself. Boy, can I get down. It's pretty nuts. But once I realized that, I'm just like, oh, I'm going crazy. I don't know what I'm doing. That's what my ramblings sound like. And then I'm just like, something clicks in me. It's like something in my head. I remember that I had a conversation with myself several weeks ago, a couple of years ago, you know, a couple of months ago, telling myself, when I get upset, please let me remember that my feelings are trying to tell me something. Or when I get upset, please allow me to realize that I'm upset, you know, and that I'm reacting, instead of giving myself the time and the space. So it's a beautiful thing when you can start to stop yourself in the middle of a freak out moment, or even just let yourself go for like 5 minutes and then just realize that after 5 minutes, those tears, that yelling, that expression of emotion, it really just feels better. It feels like you cleansed it, you let it out. And now you can think a little bit more clearly about the situation and maybe compartmentalize your feelings and things like that. It's very beautiful to get to know yourself on a deeper level by being able to stop yourself and ask yourself these questions, or just learn who you are. I think nowadays we're so very much distracted by things outside of us. You know, this phone that you probably have in your hand right now, the latest Netflix series, the tweet by number 45, and, you know, so many things that can distract us. And while we should be aware of things that are going on in the world, wouldn't it be so much better to put that energy towards the one thing that you know that will help you to make a difference, which is yourself. So going through depression and anxiety has actually allowed me to learn more about myself than a lot of people that I know. And not to say that I'm better or that I'm more evolved or I'm at a different level. I am definitely more in tune than a lot of people that I know. That doesn't make me better. But what it does make me is more aware of how I show up and how I show up in other interactions and in other relationships. And this also has allowed me to make the quality of my interactions and my relationships even better. Because I have been able to identify things that either trigger me or just things, habits that I have, and I can alert my people to that. And either they can respect my triggers or they can acknowledge when I'm in a place where I'm not 100% myself, and they can help me to check in with myself. Like, hey, Olga, you seem like you're not doing well. Is everything okay? And then I'm like, no, nothing's okay. And then I'm like, oh, you're right. Maybe I should sit back and take some time with myself. So, yeah, another thing that has really been a wonderful takeaway from this is just the quality of all of my relationships have improved dramatically. And not all of them right away. And some of them are still crawling uphill. But they're all getting better. But the number one relationship that has improved over the years is the relationship that I have with myself. And if you've ever listened to the Friends with Benefits podcast, which is my podcast that I co-host with my friends, I have a segment on there called the Relationship Clinic. And the Relationship Clinic is, talking about all things relationship. But the one thing that I always talk about is the one that you should focus on, because it's the most important one. It's the one that matters the most. It's the relationship with yourself. So I can definitely say that dealing with anxiety and depression and learning how to work through it and learning about my triggers, learning about what helps me feel better, learning about who helps me feel better and who makes me feel worse, learning about what kinds of activities are good for me to do, and what things to stay away from. Like, this has all helped me to have a better relationship with myself. And it has not been peaches and cream. And I do have moments where I go back and I'm still kind of beating on myself about things. But it's nowhere near to the extent where I was before. Right now, at this particular moment, I'm in a really good place in my mental space where, although I have setbacks and experience frustrations from time to time, my overall outlook and disposition is that anything is possible. I have the power to create and build all kinds of wonderful things for myself. I am not bound in any way to anybody else's ideas or ideals of what life should look like. And within the confines of capitalism, I'm still able to define my own levels and means of being successful. So I feel really good at this time. So I definitely want to put that out there, because when I'm not feeling so great, outlook is a little bit more dismal, and I've explained that in the previous videos. But just for some context, I'm definitely right now speaking from a place where I'm feeling much better. Another wonderful thing that I have gotten from my journey with depression and anxiety is that I've gotten to really care for myself in a different way. And as an adult, because I now get to do things for myself that maybe my parents couldn't because they were busy. You know, they were trying to focus on putting food on the table, making sure that we were safe, but couldn't always tend to my emotional needs. I'm able to do that for myself. And that feels actually pretty good. There was a point in my life where I used to blame a lot of other people for my problems, including my parents. You know, I used to kind of project my issues outward onto other people. And I realized that that's just giving power away. That is not standing in your own power, and that's not taking accountability for the things that we may or may have not done. It also takes the power away from you, because, like, let's say there's certain things where you may not have done anything. You just happen to have experienced it because you were with other people at the time who were responsible for caring for you. Or, you know, lots of different types of situations like that. Things may have happened where it really had nothing to do with you, but it affected you in a certain way. Now, you can internalize that and you can blame yourself for the situations happening. You can internalize it by saying, like, this is my energy and I must be, you know, like, so miserable in my energy that nothing good ever happens to me or nothing. But that's not a place of power. That's not a place of power. And what I really would like for everybody to do is to reclaim their power. Know that if you are suffering from an illness, a mental illness, that sometimes you need additional support and additional help, but the number one help that you need and deserve is your own. You know, it's not until we start accepting that we got some stuff that we've got to look at, we've got to clear up. Until we do that, there's no way that we can really move forward and really make progress. And it's not until we start taking accountability for, maybe you can't take accountability for what happened, but once you recognize that there's a pattern in your life that's showing up, maybe a way that you respond, a coping mechanism that you have, that it's a way that you respond to the world because of that trauma that's in your past, and now it's continuing to perpetuate, you know, like a low vibe, because this is just a coping mechanism and a survival tool that's not really positive per se. You know, if you're not taking accountability for that, then there's no way that you can heal from that. You may not have caused these things to happen to yourself, but if you carry, you know, this emotional baggage, so to speak, into the future, and you're allowing it to weigh you down day to day, that's just doing a disservice to yourself. And I know that when you're in a place where you're hurting and it's deep and it's dark and you're in that dark valley, it feels like, when people say things like that, it feels like, you know, like, oh, you don't get it, you don't understand. But I'm telling you this from a place of, I completely understand, because I have been there before. And I just know that until I acknowledge that I could do something about it, and that things could change, because life didn't have to be this way, nothing would have changed, you know, nothing would have happened, you know. And like I said before, sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes it's not overnight. Sometimes it's over the period of a couple of weeks, a few months, even a couple of years. And I promise you that once you start working on yourself, you're going to always find something else to work on yourself. And don't challenge the universe, because it'll come fast and hard for you. But the lessons are there. The lessons are definitely there. Um, Another thing that I can say that depression and anxiety has brought to me is a closer bond and relationship with those around me who I know struggle as well, and who we've sat and held space for each other in our camaraderie. So shout out to my friends who have been there, both past and present, because, you know, we may not have always had healthy coping mechanisms at the time, but we were all there in community, and it really was like, you know, in Lilo and Stitch, Ohana. We were family, and family means no one gets left behind or forgotten. And for those moments, I am really appreciative, because sometimes suffering by yourself, again, it can be very lonely. When you realize that your friend is suffering as well, you kind of find that common space, that common bond. Now, hopefully, you guys don't become toxic for each other. And if you do, then recognize when it's time to split. Because that could happen as well. And that has happened in my experience, where we were together, you know, as friends in this place of everybody's kind of just figuring themselves out. Early 20s are like that. And then through, you know, starting to piece together the puzzles, some pieces are still missing, and it seems like you're going this way, they're going that way, and things kind of get crossed. And then all of a sudden, you don't even know each other anymore. That's totally okay. Just know that sometimes you're going to have people in your life for a brief period of time, even sometimes for an extended period of time, but their time will end in your life. There's still that beauty of the time that you share together, the moments that you share together. And so I have to say I'm really grateful for the times when I was able to bond with others, either through the depression or even after the depression. And I feel like now I'm able to bond with people in a much healthier way, where now I can recognize where they may be hurting in similar ways where I have hurt, and I can either give them some advice or just sit back and listen to them, whatever they need at the moment. So I'm really, really grateful for that. I think that the number one thing that I am super appreciative of in my journey with mental health, you know, depression and anxiety, and being a suicide survivor, is that I absolutely know at this point that while these issues have been passed down for generations, I feel like knowing what I'm facing has made a huge difference. I feel like being able to get in tune with myself has made me stronger beyond anything. I feel like bearing the weight of my ancestors, so to speak, could feel like a huge pressure, but in this case, I really do feel like I'm here to break chains. I'm here to let this shit go. I'm here to be the one to bring it out to the light and expose this dirty little secret, and just let this shit go, and like let that full moon energy carry it all away, and just be on with it. So the number one thing I have gotten from this is that I am resilient, that I can get up. Like Cardi said, knock me down 9 times, but I get up 10. And that, my friends, is all I have to say for today. I really thank you all for watching. I appreciate you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting me. If you know somebody who is suffering, if you know somebody who is dealing with depression, anxiety, you know, if they seem to be having a hard time, and maybe it's not any of those things, maybe it looks like they could use some additional support, additional help, reach out, talk to that person, speak to me if you need to. I don't have all the answers. I can't promise you that, but I promise I will try to get you linked up with some resources, because I believe that it's just important. It's important for us to all try to help each other to heal. So with that being said, thank you guys all so much for watching. I hope that you all find healing. I hope you all find your true north. And I hope that you all gain a little bit more compassion for each other, and ultimately gain the most compassion and grace for yourself. All right, guys, have a good one.